You know, growing up, I was taught that there are certain things you're not supposed to talk about at work. I don't recall exactly when I first learned it or who told me, but I do remember it repeated through the years. And that was the things you don't talk about at work. And it was usually religion and politics, but also money. Religion, politics, and money. And the reason for this is pretty obvious. If you're working on a job and you're distracted with debate about, you know, where you go, where you're going, or where you come from, who God is, who you're going to vote for president, these are things that can create heated debates which distract from getting things done. It's not the right place or time to discuss these things, but it happens all the time anyway. The money aspect is usually about wage. It's kind of that tackiness when people tell others how much money they make, or ask others how much money they make. But generally, these things are talked about anyway. And I wanted to add a few to the list that I've noticed over the past several years, which probably have already always been there, but have become much more prominent lately. Things like truth and science. Things that science used to just be a method of understanding the world, but now it's become a hot button debate topic where, well, the science isn't settled on this or that, and scientists are biased and corrupted, and in many cases this is true. I mean, the scientists working for the pharmaceutical industry are obviously not the ones you want to trust to tell you how safe pharmaceuticals are. But it's also important to realize that without science, much of what we have could not exist. And therefore, discussing science becomes a little more complicated. And within there, truth is something completely different. Some people may label truth and science within the same realm, but they're not, because there's plenty of fake science, and there's plenty of truth that is, let's just say, not quite understood. And the term truth is very slippery, and it's something that I think also ties in with all the rest of them, of course. The truth about politics, religion, money, science, whatever it might be. But the final one, number 6, the thing that isn't talked about so often that they don't even tell you not to talk about it, is death. And I had somebody ask me the other day in a video. They said, hey, could you refer me to a video you might have made where you talked about what you want to happen after you die with your body? And I thought about how some people would be very bothered by that discussion, but how I was just completely ready to talk about it. I was like, all right, let's do it. Anytime somebody brings up death, the big sleep, the ultimate darkness, depending on how you view it, it doesn't matter to me though. It's not about what happens afterward. When I made a video last week, a few days ago, talking about why do people believe in Jesus, I know it would come across, of course, maybe more abrasive than I intended, but I had somebody say, I believe in Jesus because he gives me hope and a purpose. Why do you believe in atheism? And so I was, of course, in the video I had said I'm not an atheist. I just don't believe in a middleman between me and God. And I don't believe any other man's version. I believe religion should be able to be found in the middle of the woods with no access to any other human beings. So therefore, you just take the rudimentary version of God, which is nature, and nature should be your medium of worship. In other words, I'm much more likely to go out and talk to a tree to get to God than I am to sit in my room, behind my bed, under my roof, and sit with my hands together. But it all comes down to intention and personal choice. So, to back up to the question about death, I thought that kind of fell in line with that discussion about religion, of course. And my answer to that question, what do I want to do with my body after after I die? I said I just don't care. I honestly do not care. I'm not going to leave it up to me what to do with me when I'm gone. I'm going to leave it up to my family, and my wishes are to be cremated for a few reasons. Number one, it's cheaper. And that works for me. Number two, I don't want to be buried. I don't like small spaces. I'm claustrophobic. I do not want to be trapped in a box, whether I'm alive or dead, or have the worms eat me slowly. And third, I believe that the funeral pyre really just, it's kind of a symbol releasing the spirit, if you will. Even though I'm not sure what I even believe about any of that. But ultimately, the question of what do I want to do after I die with my body is whatever makes my family most comfortable, because they're the ones who have to bear the brunt. I don't have to deal with it when I'm gone. Hell, maybe I'll be the last one and nobody will bury me. Who knows? Maybe I'll end up lost in a cave somewhere. Boy, that would be the worst death I could imagine. The Floyd Collins story is one of the best. And there's this video called Man in Cave, which sums it up really well. It's a very popular YouTube video. I'm sure you've seen it. It's from Internet Historian. Highly recommended, and I have watched it twice. I think it's hilarious. So well done. But caving has always been kind of a creepy obsession of mine, watching people get stuck and thinking, thank God that's not me. But being entombed in claustrophobic spaces doesn't sound like something that I would want to deal with. Thank God I won't, because I'm not going in there. But ultimately, and the message here is, you should be able to believe whatever you want, believe whatever you choose, and you should be able to discuss these ideas freely. The idea of not talking about religion and politics and science and death, those only apply to workplaces or shopping centers or somewhere where you don't know the person very well. The minute we are with other people, we need to discuss these things. But it's important to remember, often when people talk about religion and politics and money, they're only talking about it with people in their own in-group. So it's an extreme discussion bias. And I think that we're not giving ourselves enough variety of opinions in order to come to our own conclusions. We live in echo chambers now, and the internet has made it so much worse. You don't have to listen to anybody. You can just assume everybody's an idiot. It's unfortunate, but that's where we're at. There are times when I think, man, people are stupid. And then other times when I'm driving along and everything's working fine, and I think it's amazing that we all make this work. That this many humans can live in such close quarters and still function. We tend to notice the mistakes, the failures. People are always going to notice the one car accident and say, man, people are shitty drivers. I'm like, but what about the 100,000 people who passed by here earlier in the day that didn't get in an accident? So we have bias towards the negative. It's hard to break away from that. Thank God I have. I see that people get really trapped in finding flaws in others thinking, in others being, their choices, their behaviors, their looks, whatever it might be. Everybody wants to point the finger at other people, and I'm always of the idea, live and let live. That doesn't mean you can't question other people's stupidity. I mean, you're going to hear people say really dumb things, and you're going to have to decide how to respond. And whether or not you ignore those 6 things is up to you. But even if we don't talk about politics, we'll be okay. However, when it comes to belief systems like religion, or when it comes to discussions about death, I think those are things that need to be had. Those are discussions you need to have with the people you love. And if there are people you feel comfortable talking with it about, please do. Because it seems to be a subject that people are a little squeamish about, dying. Whether they believe in heaven or not, that's not the issue. It's really, how much do we have attached to this existence? I can't get into the Buddhism or some of the angles that I've seen which help